You're live.
All right. We are live, Facebook Live. It is a beautiful Thursday. It's Friday Eve, as some people like to call it. And I am joined by two really amazing individuals today for Atlas Pro Talk. And we're going to be covering some great topics that we haven't yet covered. We haven't really gotten into some of these really important things during this really important time. So let me make some introductions in just a second, but let me thank you if you are jumping on live. Make sure that you chat us up, give us some likes and hearts throughout, whatever that means. I'm just told to say that. No, I know what it means. But we give us some comments throughout. If you guys are commenting throughout, you have a chance to win an Asphalt Life prize pack. So without further ado, let me introduce our special guest today, Mr. Brad Jones from Roof Time General Contractors out of the great state of Texas. Brad, how you doing?
Doing great. How about yourself, Stanley?
Doing good. It couldn't be better, and ready to talk about some really exciting, interesting topics, and always great to spend time with you. We also have another very special guest joining us on the Atlas Pro Talk Facebook Live. I don't think he's got a Facebook account, so I think this might be the first time his face has sort of graced the Facebook waves here. But Mr. Kirk Villar, our VP of Sales and Marketing for Atlas Roofing. Kirk, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Stan. Thanks for having me on this afternoon.
Absolutely.
With my good buddy and close friend, Brad Jones.
Good stuff. Well, Brad is an expert in running a roofing business. He's been doing it a long time, but he's also been really critical and part of some really important things in the state of Texas and for our roofing community at large. Brad is the former president of the Roofing Contractors Association of Texas. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But he's also been running a really successful business, and a business that has incredible balance, which is really important right now in terms of retail, storm business, and also commercial multifamily, lots of different things going on. So I'm sure that that's helping in times like this, right, Brad?
It sure does. It's nice not to have all your eggs in one basket. Our commercial side of our business right now is really carrying us, where the residential with the virus going around, it makes it a little difficult, but the commercial business hasn't really missed a beat.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of that essential business, right? If you got properties that are impacting the lives of a lot of individuals, right? You know, like nursing homes or apartment complexes or commercial properties, very important to make sure that those roofs are tight, because it's preventing other people from having to go in and do things in there. So we'll get to that, but we're going to start with the topic that you brought up a couple days ago, Brad, when we were talking about, hey, what do we want to discuss? And that is financing and the importance of financing. And this is a broad topic. So I'm going to kick us off this, Brad, and I want to get your thought on how financing has really been playing into the roofing remodeling business, and how you think that's going to have a broader impact as we move on down the road, particularly with the way the economy and individuals are going to be affected by this downturn in our economy. So tell us what your thoughts are. How are you using it?
Well, basically financing in the residential market, say 5 years ago, was almost non-existent. Financing has really become a part of a business model for most contractors around the country, let's say the last 2 or 3 years. And I still don't think it's being used to its maximum capacity. It hasn't been a huge selling tool. It's been kind of a niche to fill in when there were certain places in the market that people just were looking to finance a roof. Maybe they were having to pay out of pocket instead of having an insurance loss. But we feel that coming out of this downturn in the economy, most homeowners are probably going to be taking on a little more debt. They've used their credit cards. They've been a little short on cash flow. And when we come out the other side of this, they may be a little burdened with some credit card debt, and we believe that financing is going to be an option for them. Some of those credit cards that they're using, they may be paying anywhere from 14 to 20% interest on that money that they're carrying, and we can go in and offer financing for anywhere between 5 and 8% on a roof.
Right.
So moving forward, if they had an insurance claim and they had an $18,000 claim for their roof, we can provide them financing for the entire job. They can take those insurance proceeds and redirect them, maybe pay off some of that credit card debt, and end up with a better interest rate and pay that roof out over time and
Yeah.
structure it to where it fits their cash flow, so to speak. So initially, we feel like there's going to be some pent up demand when we first get back into this. Probably won't be seen right off, but I think 60 to 90 days after we get back, there's going to be some realization that hits. There's going to be some bills that come due. And I think the average homeowner is going to be a little strapped and going to have to make some tough decisions about what do they do, you know, in the event of a disaster or a hailstorm. You know, are they going to have the money to come out of the pocket with their deductibles or any additional expenses? So we feel like not only is it going to be a way for them to maybe redirect some of that debt, but it's also going to be a tool in which now you might, since they're going to talk about financing, you might be able to add on or upgrade or do some additional siding and do some additional trades that you might not be able to do with just a standard insurance claim because you're trying to use just the funds that were allocated by insurance. If they're going to finance it, there may be some additional things that you can do and grow those contracts a little bit and make a little more money by it.
It's a great point you're making. And I think that, you know, we've seen the roofing industry as a little bit of a laggard on this versus other industries, you know, particularly exterior remodeling, windows, siding. Certainly we're ahead of the curve and have been using this a lot longer. But roofing, we've been sort of just started talking about this about 5 years ago, and it's been slow. But now's the time to strike with this for all those reasons you're talking about, Brad, because it really is. It may be the only way that you can get contracts signed with certain homeowners, even in a storm situation where they've got to pay that big hefty deductible in the state of Texas or Oklahoma. Let me quickly shout out, and then we'll get a couple more comments from you, Kirk, on financing. Shout out to everybody that's joined so far. We hear you, Jeff. Thank you for being here. Brandy, Ryan, Brad, Colin, Greg Wary from Wary Roofing in Elizabethtown, PA is on the call. Jim Farish, Brian P, Duke, Jim. We got some great comments. You've got a fan, Brad. Mr. David Wasserman's on. He said, Brad Jones is awesome. And then Andy Mastuski is here in Georgia as well. So thank you guys for being live. Post those questions. We'll get them circulated out here to Kirk and Brad. Kirk, you were one of the first people to sort of start talking about financing at Atlas and the need for manufacturers to start presenting this to our contractors. What's your take on how financing is going to help through this financial economic downturn for roofing contractors, and how would you suggest they go about it?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, when you think of big ticket items, you know, getting a roof redone is a big ticket item, and when you think of those things, most people want to have options, and it's almost standard business practice when you buy a car, when you buy a flat screen TV. And for some reason, which I don't understand in our industry, it's not normal to be offering financing. Yet I personally believe that may be the one reason you land the job, that you're offering flexible payment. You're offering the easier way to pay. You know, we all have busy lives, right? We got college education, we got car payments, we got possibly a loss of one of our incomes. And so I think, and one of the things I've always liked about Brad is he's cutting edge. He's always one step ahead of really the industry. So I really think he was doing this financing before anybody else does. So I'm not surprised that he's taking the lead and he sees this as getting be a bigger item, you know, than a smaller item, you know, which Brad, I would pivot that. I'm gonna fire a question at you now. So, you know, when it comes to running a business, you know, one of the things I found on the news is that 50% of the people that are employed in this country are employed by a small business. And I wouldn't necessarily call you a small business, but, you know, relatively it's a family-owned business. You know, we're a family-owned business at Atlas. So first, I want to tell you, I really respect what you do. You know, you have to lay your money on the table, right? You have to show up every day and earn your paycheck. So I respect the position you're in, and all of the contractors for that matter of fact, because it's sort of the all-American way. You know, lay your money on the line and you go out and you know, make it happen. During an unprecedented time like this, running a business like you're running, what changes mentally for you? I mean, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, certainly you didn't budget this, you've got where you may not even can go ring the doorbell, right? You got employees that may not feel comfortable showing up at work. What have you seen out of this, and how have you adjusted?
Well, first of all, we've been very fortunate. We had some backlog of residential roofing that our customers allowed us to continue to put on roofs here in Texas. We have been very fortunate to have enough capital in reserve to kind of get us through. We haven't even really debated whether we were going to let anybody go. We're still fully staffed. Obviously we don't know how long this is going to last. But from the standpoint of an owner, we really turn inward and we want to make sure that we take care of our people, because at the end of the day, I can't do this by myself. If it wasn't for our employees and our roofing crews, we'd be out of business a long time ago. So my first off concern is for the health and safety and for the stability of our employees. So that's kind of the mentality we've taken with this. Fortunately, because we've been diligent and diverse in our business, having a commercial side and a residential side, we've been able to kind of weather the storm. But it really has come down to the fact that we've been very smart with our money. We have always put money back in reserve, waiting for that proverbial rainy day. And we are in the middle of a rainy day. So we are fortunate. Some contractors in our industry and in our market are not as fortunate. They were maybe a little undercapitalized when they started. They were great salesmen and still are great salesmen. They always felt like they could go out and it didn't matter what their capital situation at the time. They'd go sell another roof tomorrow, and they'd sell another roof the next day, and they would just keep churning and churning, and they would generate enough cash flow to get them through a rough spot. But when you have a downturn in the market like this, which was completely out of left field, and it literally takes your ability away to go sell a roof or to generate that income, it's really tough on those guys. They're scrambling, trying to figure out, what are we going to do? For us, we see it as a downturn, a little blip, but we also see it as a opportunity to kind of take care of some AR, some people that we had that we needed to collect on and go back and do some little repairs. It's also a great time if you have other things in your business like maintenance programs and things like that. Those are just diversities that are continuing to have income. So we're not just, at the mercy of the downturn if somebody won't go answer their door and be able to sell a residential roof. From an owner standpoint, again, Joanne and I, we just want to make sure we take care of our employees first, and that's the main thing. So
well, I think
that's really how.
To me, you mentioned this rainy day, and whether you run a business or personally, I learned at a young age, you save up for this rainy day. You really hope it doesn't happen, but wouldn't you say it really takes discipline to do that? You got the money. You got the money, you can go spend it, but you have to have the discipline to say, I'm not going to do that because something may happen, right? And so I admire you for having that discipline so that when you run into a difficult time, and I think it's not normal. Normal is you got the money. Hey, I want to spend it. I've earned it. I've worked hard. The discipline is, oh no, I'm not going to touch this. I'm going to set it aside for that possible rainy day. So that can't be easy to do.
It's not, but I also think it's a little bit generational. Where I'm a little long in the tooth, as you are. We've been in this industry a long time. In our generation, we were taught that. Not anything against the younger generation. They're a lot brighter, a lot smarter, a lot more aggressive. They think outside the box. They have a lot of different ways of going to the marketplace and generating business. And I think that to some extent they feel invincible. And for the most part, they have been for a long time. But again, it does take discipline. It's really easy when you work, you're in a storm situation, you're working 7 days a week. You might be working 7 or 8 months straight without a break. And you want to do something to reward yourself for all that hard work. And You know, you go buy a new truck, you buy a boat, you buy jet skis, you go get a lake house, you go do all those things. And, you know, that's all well and good. But then you have a downturn like this, and all of a sudden you're looking around and figuring out, uh-oh, what am I going to do now? And the thing is, I think just about everybody could weather a 30-day downturn. The problem is when it's the unknown like we are now. We don't really know how we're going to come out the back end of this. We don't know what the new normal is going to be, what the homeowners are going to allow us. Are they going to allow us on their front porch? There's been all this talk about digital marketing and footprints and how to get to the homeowner without having physical contact. And there's been some really great ideas, and there'll be some great entrepreneurs that will figure out a way and get out ahead of this. But we still don't know exactly what this is going to look like when it comes out. Is it going to come back in the fall? Are we going to turn around and have this come up and creep up again and slow us down again? And if it does, what's that going to look like? So again, it does take discipline, and we're just very fortunate that we've been able to do that.
I think you guys are hitting on some really important things. And I think the other thing that if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, I can kind of relate to that. I felt kind of invincible. I know I can go sell. I know I'm going to go out and create new ways of generating revenue. You know, I'm going to get creative. I'm taking advantage of all these things. But I think the other part of this is let's be reflective with our business and the finances side. And how are we going to continue to operate and run a successful business knowing how it actually needs to operate? And it's also not too late, right? These are not things that just because you haven't done it up to this point that you can't start doing these things, that you can't start looking inward. You can't start having discipline. You can't start setting money away. Those are things that you can start doing today. You know, it's about taking action today. So what would be some of your advice, Brad, for some guys listening to this saying, you know what? Yeah, I kind of relate to that. I wish I had stashed a little bit more money, you know, away. You know, what's the low hanging fruit to get started, to get some momentum?
Well, it's like anything else. It's one step at a time, but I think it's a great time to reflect on your business and learn what the net is of your jobs. What are you actually truly making out of a job? So many of them sell and they go to the next one, and they don't really ever know what their margins are. They hope at the end of the day when it's all said and done that they make money out of each job, but there's no real set margin. So if you can kind of dissect your business, look for a particular percentage on your margin, shoot for that percentage, and let's just say that you're looking to net on each job in residential, let's say 30%. 30% is not a bad number to shoot for as far as a net profit on the job. Take 5% of that, or take 2% of it. Take some amount and be diligent about it and put it away. Yeah. Don't touch it, put it away. Call it a warranty account. Call it whatever you want, but put it away, and you'll notice that after you've done 30, 40, 50 jobs, you know, 2% of 15,000, if you're putting $500-600 away per job, even if you're putting $200 away per job, it adds up. And pretty soon you've done it 1, 2, 3 years. Now you have 90 days, 120 days put away that if you never have the opportunity to hit one nail, we get a downturn like this, you're fine. You can continue operations without missing a beat. And, you know, everybody has a different market. Everybody has a different margin based on their overhead. Some are large, some are small, but just be disciplined. If you'll take it out of every job, put it in an account and don't touch it, let it be there for you. You know, put it in a little money market. Just do something with it. You'll find that it really comes in handy when we find ourselves in times like we are today.
Awesome advice. Awesome advice. Yeah. Let me give a quick shout out, Kirk, and then we'll get to your thought here to the folks that have jumped on and started commenting at us. Tona Ricky Smith, Mike Medio, Joanne Needham Jones is on, so she's hanging out. Thomas DeRoos, Stuart, Alex, Armando J. Cox coming from Colorado. I know Armando's doing some really cool things, giving back to the community out there, and Alex Dale as well. So thank you guys for joining. Welcome to the show. We're about halfway through, guys. So Kirk, some other thoughts from you on, you know, sort of closing thoughts on sort of, you know, diving back into your business and the numbers and being disciplined.
Well, you know, that's the word I keep coming back to. When Brad said, if you can take so many dollars off of a job and put it into an account, that's the discipline that we're talking about. I remember personally, to start saving up for kids' college, my wife and I took $200 out of our paycheck every month when they were in diapers, because I got nervous. That's that generational thing about save up for a rainy day. And the truth be known, we never missed the money because we didn't look at it. We put it into an account, and their kids' college was actually paid for before they got out of middle school. I would have never thought we could have done that. So my point is, back to what Brad said, if you can be disciplined to take a certain amount, put it into a separate account. Don't put it into the account with everything else. Take the money, maybe it's $200 off of a job, put it into a separate account so you can watch it grow. And there's where your rainy day comes in. And that is not easy to do. I'm not making it sound like it's easy, but it's where the discipline comes in, and you'll be so glad you did it, just like Brad is. It allows you to sleep a little better at night, just like it did with me, but it's not easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think really good advice. And again, it's take one step at a time, like anything. You're not going to be able to, that's kind of the point of this advice that you guys are giving, is that it takes a long time to get there, and it takes consistency and discipline. This isn't one of those instant gratification things that guys in my generation, we're totally guilty of, always wanting it to happen just like this. So it's back to, taking that advice and really starting to put a system in place to plug away, a little bit here, a little bit there. We've got a couple comments here doing a couple emergency roofs. Doug Parker's doing some Dove Gray emergency, so we're happy about that. And then Eric said hook 'em, so he wanted to make sure he knew where your allegiances lied there, Mr. Jones. So,
well, I did see somebody put Roll Tide earlier. It made me gag a little.
Yeah, somebody's trying to brown nose. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I saw who it was. It was definitely brown nosing.
Well, let me tell our audience a little bit about their guest today, Brad Jones. He was Roger Clemens' catcher at the University of Texas. So wow. I kept thinking I would throw you a curveball, Brad.
Yeah.
So which one's more stressful? Which one's more stressful, my curveball question or catching a curveball from Roger Clemens?
Yours, because he was pretty accurate with his.
Oh, did Roger Clemens even throw a curveball, man? He's all heat.
That hurt.
Well, good stuff. Every time I hear that fact, it always impresses me because, he's one of the best, man. He was an incredible flamethrower, man. And he got better. So, really, really cool background there. So let's pivot here, Brad. Talk to us when we talk about having a balanced business. You've been in business a while. You sort of had your business evolve. Have you always sort of approached it this way where, hey, we're going to have different segments and we're really going to make sure we've got some staples to sort of weather the ups and downs? No pun intended there, or did you sort of evolve into it? And if, I'm assuming it's a little bit of both, but how did you kind of get to where you are today? Like, what was the roadmap for some of these guys who maybe don't have as balanced a business today?
Well, I started out in this business on the commercial side, actually, believe it or not, working for a different contractor. So my first foray into this business was way back in the late 80s. We did a lot of commercial restoration and rehab and did a lot of commercial roofing. So my first venture was in the commercial side of it. I ended up learning the residential side in the mid to late 90s. So when I finally opened our doors, I had a pretty good balance of both. And I saw that for the most part, I felt like as a business, we needed both because residential is kind of a grinded out. It's a great cash flow tool. And it's steady, but in commercial there is a lot greater profit margin per job, and there can be some real earnings that you can sustain commercially. So having a diverse business, I just thought was smart, so that you had a little bit of commercial, a little bit of residential. You were never really, again, having all your eggs in one basket. If something happened residentially, you still had your commercial business. For us, it's been almost a 50-50 split. And again, it's come in really handy. We do a lot of nursing homes around the country. We've earned that business over a number of years, and it's been a very steady business. It's not so much related to hailstorms. The companies that we do business with, they do these roofs on capital improvements throughout the years, whether or not there's a storm or not. So that's also a good diverse way of doing it. We don't do any new construction. Everything we do is re-roofing, whether it be residential or commercial. But again, it's just lend itself to be a good business model for us. I don't know that it's for everybody, because commercially speaking, again, it gets back into the capitalization of your business. If you're going to get into that industry, you better have a little bit of capital, because the terms and conditions of commercial roofing, they're going to extend on you, and you're going to have to carry quite a bit of money commercially, where residentially you're able to turn that money a little quicker. So again, it's just it's being able to do those things. And so we've just been very fortunate, and over the years we've been able to grow both sectors and find that, you know, we have one that generates cash flow every week, another one that you know, is maybe built on 30, 45, 60-day cycles. And when you get it in, it builds up your bank account really quick, but it takes a while to get it.
Right.
But between the two of them, it just, for us, it just works.
Yeah. I think it's a huge lesson, you know, to sort of aspire to long-term as you're building your business. If you're listening to this out there, there's guys out here like Brad that you can reach out to, you know, as resources, you know, guys from around the country who probably are trying to figure out some of those same things. So quick shout out to some of the other folks that have jumped on: Eric, Brian, Tim, Nick, and Josh, new joiners to the Facebook Live, and Justin coming from Chicago. So welcome, guys. Glad you guys are here. You know, so we got a few minutes left here, and I want to pivot to another thing here, you know, on, you know, sort of the RCAT and what's been happening in Texas. But real quick, just to wrap up the commercial roofing thing, Kirk, share with us what our VP of Sales and Marketing for our insulation group told you about how commercial is really, interestingly, schools have been affected recently with what's been going on. You want to share that with the group?
Yeah, you know, probably a little bit surprising to me, but Brad mentioned it earlier. Our commercial division saw a lot of things getting moved up. Schools, for example, and it makes perfect sense to me. There's no kids in the schools around the country, so they moved those projects up. Things that they would be doing probably in June when the kids got out, they're doing now in April. So I think we have seen a shift in that kind of business. And I think that's been really good. You know, one thing I would like to say here for the audience is we're really blessed, lucky to be in an industry that's considered essential. You know, the business does go on. We're all having to sort of buckle up our seatbelts here, but we get to continue. Our plants are running. Our employees are showing up there. They're getting a paycheck. And so we're in an industry that, you know, I think we're really, really lucky there. The commercial segment seems to be hanging in there real well.
Yeah, great. We appreciate those insights, and we love hearing from you guys, our Asphalt Life community, on what you're experiencing in your areas. Again, it's a little bit all over the map, and that's why we're trying to have people from all over the country on to share what they're experiencing and what things are affecting their marketplaces. So let's talk about something very specific to Texas, Brad, something you are very intimately involved with. So I'm going to show a picture of you here just to prove it, you know, not that I've got to. Here we go. Oh no, that's not the right one. Sorry, Brad. I hated to show that to everybody. I apologize.
Wow.
Let me see here. Oh, there's the right picture. There's Brad right there, the president of RCAT. Anyway, there he is eating a lobster before, but anyway, here he is as the president of RCAT. You are very intimately involved with and have been for a really long time, still are, with the Roofing Contractors Association of Texas and their efforts to really form legislation to try to affect in a really, really positive way for your industry, our industry, issues that have been rampant in Texas with contractors paying for deductibles. Talk a little bit about, to sort of round out the show here, what kind of work you were involved with, what has been done, what's the impact of that, and where do we still have some work to go?
Well, as everybody here in Texas knows, there's no licensing in the state There hasn't been really any type of government oversight, which I'm not a big fan of government oversight anyway, but there hasn't really been anything to deter people coming in our state, setting up shop in the midst of a disaster, going in, taking people's money for down payments, and then leaving. Another storm comes, not putting on any materials, and just straining the people, taking their money. Also talking about deductibles for years, it was just commonplace in our industry for the contractor to go in and eat the deductible, rebated, a lot of different ways of putting it, but the ballpark was it was being absorbed by the contractor. Well, for the last 20 years, our association has gone to the state legislature trying to get some of that changed, and we've never had the ability to get any types of laws that benefited the contractor in the state changed or passed. All we got were laws that were targeting our industry, trying to keep us from being able to do our job.
Right.
Well, fortunately, we had a concerted effort. Momentum's been gaining. And last year, we were fortunate enough to get a couple of bills through and get them passed. Unfortunately, our registration bill, which was House Bill 2101, got defeated on the floor of our state legislature at the 11th hour. It was set up, ready to be passed. We thought we had the votes, and at the last minute, it got killed. Well, the deductible bill, which is House Bill 2102, we had already gotten it passed. It was actually supposed to be a bill that was going to be attached with the registration bill to give the registration bill some teeth, that if you were caught waiving deductibles, they could pull your registration, effectively policing our industry. Since we couldn't get licensing, it was going to be a two-pronged attack. It left us with just a bill by itself in 2102, which is a deductible bill, that's not really designed the way it was if we were just going to write the bill by itself. It kind of went through the washing machine, through legislation. They took a few pieces out, added a few pieces, and unfortunately, you have to negotiate those things down at the state capitol if you're going to get anything passed. But again, it was supposed to be a brother to House Bill 2101. So with that being said, we've got some work to do to go back and to clean it up, and hopefully build that on that same momentum we had to get some type of registration or licensing passed in 2020 when the next legislation goes into session. They know who we are now. We've had some successes, and we've got some momentum, and we have a great organization now with RCAT and some of the regional chapters as well. And we're now collectively beginning to get a voice down at the state capitol.
Yeah. I'm showing the RCAT website for those contractors that are in the state of Texas. Make sure you visit the Roofing Contractors Association of Texas website and sign up, get some information. And if you want to talk to some folks, if you're not sure if membership is right for you, reach out to some folks like Brad, who can tell you a little bit about what they're doing. But some really important things, obviously, that, don't happen overnight either, right? These are things that have been talked about and been worked on for, as you said, 20 years, your involvement. And, I think it's really important to continue these efforts because it takes a lot of work to get there, and it's not always exactly what you want. So really that next step is trying to figure out what is a registration or enforcement and or certification. Those are really still those the great white buffaloes that are out there to continue to chase. So
they are. We have some really great contractors in the state that have some great ideas, and we would love to have their participation. The more collective heads we have together, the better off our association and our industry will be.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that, Brad. We'll get your closing thoughts here in 1 second, but let me quick shout out to a few more people saying hello. We've got Fabian from Chicago. We've got John Carl, Kevin Boren. We've even got somebody from Utah on the line, Dustin Anderson. So we're going to have a couple of Asphalt Life prize pack winners, Kevin Boren, Greg Wary, and Dustin Anderson. You three just won Asphalt Life prize packs. We had really, really great engagement today. Lots of comments and questions. You got a lot of fans, Brad. There was a lot of we love Brads out there as well. So you're doing some really good things and very well respected in your state and across the industry. Guys, closing thoughts, and we'll do our little happy hour toast. Closing thoughts for the industry as we sort of, we're really in the thick of this and trying to find some light at the end of the tunnel. What would be your shout out to your industry and to this community of contractors out there to keep on fighting the good fight? We'll start with you, Kirk.
Is this the toast, or is this just an insight?
Almost. You got to give them your closing salute, and then we'll
Well,
toast you.
Mine's both. My toast and my salute is just like Brad and I. It's the relationships that we built, I've built, Atlas has built with our customers. It's one thing to ship shingles out and have people install them, but that's not the important things. It's really the relationships. And Brad and I, we got a relationship we've had for 10 or 12 years. We've got distributor relationships. I mean, that's what's going to be around long term. So my shout out, my toast, my thank you is all the people that have a relationship with the employees at Atlas.
Yeah, absolutely. Brad, what about you? Closing thoughts, and we'll toast away to our Atlas pros.
Well, I just want everybody out there that's in our industry to take a minute to be thankful for what we have. Be thankful for the people that you have that are in your industry, the ones that work for you, that are there day in and day out. It doesn't matter if we're selling ping pong balls or shingles, right? It's about people. And so I just want to shout out to the people that have given so much to our company, to me personally, that have helped groom me, helped mentor me. People like yourself, like Kirk, always an open ear that when I have a question or have suggestions, you always have picked up the phone, and whether you thought it was stupid or not, you've always had an open ear and had dialogue, and that means a lot. And so I think I'll look at this, and hopefully everybody else will. It's a little pause, but I think as we come out of this on the other side, I think we'll all be a little stronger. We'll all know our business a little better. We'll be a little stronger, and we will be better people and better contractors on the other side of this.
Absolutely.
Amen.
There'll be scars we'll be happy to wear, right? And I think that's there's something to that. There are going to be lessons learned, and I agree. I've already learned a lot, just in doing these kind of conversations about things that we should all be thinking about and talking about and implementing and acting on. And so you guys are two of the best. So I appreciate you guys being on. So with that, it's our happy hour toast. We got a bunch of people Facebook Live and ready to toast with us. So here is to a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Brad, you're in Central Time, so it's not quite 5 o'clock in your neck of the woods. But cheers, Asphalt Life community. You guys have a great one. We will see you again tomorrow. Where we'll have another edition of Atlas Pro Talk. Excuse me. We'll see you guys.